It is the Lads Talking Footy podcast, and as always, myself, Sam, joined by the one and only Jordan Tana.
What up, G?
No Simon this week. Simon's down in the Great Christchurch. Work schedules didn't sort of align up, so we're just running the two of us. But as you can see, if you're watching this on YouTube, Jordan is in the great New South Wales jersey.
Last try wins.
Yeah, we're 1-0 up if you want to look just after one night. So we'll get into that chat soon, but. Before that, into accountability. So we had try scorer smokeys last week. Simon had Jack Whiten in at $3.10. Jordan, you had Lemuelu in at $4, and that was a nice little cash in. I had Jake Averillo in at $3.20. As for lock of the week, Simon, Raiders 13 plus at $3.25. I laugh because in the chat, Simon wanted us to absolutely bag the Raiders. And
He was not a happy camper.
He was not a happy camper, but I was laughing at that because when he placed the bet, I knew in the back of my mind, the Raiders have not won a single game this season by more than 10 points.
I said in the last show, I've been cashing in on Raiders 1-12 every week.
And it pays every week. Yeah. So the fact that he's gone 13 plus and absolutely rubbished them just, really made me laugh. You had the Sharkies head-to-head in at $1.08, and I had Katoa into the Sharks at minus 12.5 at $2.10.
Much tastier.
As for the try scorer trifecta, I had Hudson Young, you had Mulatalo, and Simon had Tomoko. So we went down there, unfortunately. As for tips for me, I was 100% on the weekend. And for my best bets, I had Sharks minus 12.5, Dragons plus 12.5, Warriors minus 4.5, Dogs 5.5 on the plus side, Dolphins into a plus 2.5. So if you'd multied all of that up, it was at $17.90 odds, which was absolutely fantastic. And I'll hand the mic over to you for your props.
Hey, man, it's a great week for the lads. Don't ever say that we don't make you guys money, because if you followed my multi, if you followed my picks, you would have cashed in, because I put $5 on the props multi, won about 570, and then the head-to-heads also won me an extra $140 off 10. So... hey, man, 5 from 5 as well. Perfect. The props I played were the Sharks 13 plus, Raiders 1-12, Warriors minus 5.5, Bulldogs 1-12, and Dolphins 1-12 coming in clutch at the end.
It was.
Sweating on that one, but we got there and we got a bit of playing money.
It was actually a great round for the punting. We really drove home the Doggies and the Dolphins to get up in that one. It's a huge play with State of Origin players not in, which I'll get to for my takeaway a little bit later on. But yeah, look, great round for the lads. And now last night we had State of Origin Game 3. A lot of people calling it a dead rubber. As for it being a dead rubber, I didn't really actually get that feeling when they were playing it. There was a lot of fucking...
No, especially from the New South Wales boys. They really stepped up and played with some intent and aggression, especially on the defensive end. I see you got a note there for Stephen Crichton. I was going to bring him up as well, because he had 24 tackles in the centre position, and I believe he only missed 2, which when you're getting stretched on the edges by some talented Queensland backs, that is very impressive. And a lot of his tackles were down low, good technique, round the hips and driving players back. So
I was just about to say, at least 20 of those would have been dominant tackles because he was banging cunts. Other person I've got written down here defensively was Ruben Cotter. So over the entire Origin season, Origin series, he made 136 tackles on a 96% efficiency, which is absolutely incredible for a man that was in the middle and then pushed to the edge on game 1, I believe it was. Big minutes.
Dealing with fatigue.
Yeah, so that was just absolutely wild from him. And
not a big guy either, especially dealing with those big boys like Payne Haas and Junior Paulo. Not in this game, but throughout the series. That is impressive.
Big mullet. It goes hard. The other one as well that I've got written down now, Cody Walker, man of the match last night. Yeah. Absolutely outstanding performance. If you follow us on the new Threads app on Instagram, I was driving that home on that last night. That is such a shame that Cody Walker came into the squad one game too late, because when I was watching it, it was like, Jerome Luai is a fantastic player, but the way that Cody Walker actually just attacks the edge, and Luai plays well in the Cleary system, and where he knows like when he can sort of Cleary creates some space.
Cleary creates it for it. Cleary's like the Walker in that situation, whereas Jerome has a sort of a free realm to do his thing and use his footwork.
Exactly, but as soon as it went to that edge for Cody Walker, they did their homework and they knew that channel in between DCE and I believe it was Val Holmes, and they just targeted it right from the get-go. And Walker he picked on DCE the whole time. He played real narrow, and so as soon as he got it, he just beelined for him, and that's why we saw so much down that left edge.
And the way Holmes has been defending throughout the series is he's shooting out of the line, so there is a vulnerability around Daly Cheriev in space because, they just sent Bradman Best and whoever the edge back row was on down that channel, and they were getting a lot of success.
It was great to see, but I mean, I'm still sticking by my point that I said on the last podcast, and I wish we had seen Matt Burden in that game just to blood him in, but I wish we'd seen Cody a game earlier because Freddie's obviously gone, we need to win, and I'm just going to throw him in. We needed to win game fucking 2. So it really was a shame, but look, New South Wales, I was really impressed with the performance from them.
From the get-go, you could tell something was different about this team. And it may be a consequence of the lineup they picked and the smaller lineup that they had, so they weren't as reliant on their go-forward ball up the middle and putting pressure on the Queensland middles. But they shifted early and often, and Cody Walker was making great playmaking decisions, but the person, his running mate in the Rabbitohs was helping set this attack alight because he is just so good at holding the ball perfectly, taking the line, and then zipping it backdoor to Cody Walker or to whoever is linking. And he just allows the shape to be in perfect motion. Everyone running at pace. You got deadly runners like Bradman Best on Cody Walker's shoulder, creating havoc for that side and just making options for Cody, who usually makes the right option. So, man, why didn't we see it earlier?
I know. It really is such a shame. Now, I'm gutted that on the tipping, I didn't end up picking New South Wales. I saw the team and I was I know, I'm gutted I didn't because I just wanted the result. And look, I just compared the two teams and I heard a quote earlier in the week where I think it was either Billy Slater or it was Jonathan Thurston within the Queensland camp said, people remember sweeps.
Yeah.
So they were coming in here and they were going to look to sweep New South Wales at a core stadium. And I was just thinking, fuck, they're going to get up for this. But credit to New South Wales because people remember sweeps and we didn't get swept.
Yes, of course.
I was really impressed by them. And in terms of moving forward now, it's going to be interesting to see what happens with Freddie because, look, I don't credit the coaching on this one. I just credit we had the best players on there and...
Yeah, in fact, I think it's more of an indictment that we got this result and we looked so good because of the last two games, us looking so bad and making some picks that were somewhat controversial and not getting our rotation on the bench right. And then
I still don't think we got it right.
No, we didn't.
Gutho played the last 3 minutes.
Yeah,
he just threw him on for a cap and what's that?
So one of my mates, Coma, he did a funny Facebook status. It was like, because he's Queensland hard, so he was like, congrats, New South Wales. You may not have won the series, but you won the last game, and your prize for that is keeping Brad Fittler as a coach. Yeah. I was like, fuck you, bro. That's so cheeky. But do you want well, I know the answer to this, but do you think they'll bring Brad Fittler back?
I think one thing that you need to remember is now Billy Slater in his first 2 years done absolutely fantastic with Queensland.
Yeah.
Freddie did the same thing when he came in. He turned this squad on its head. It was when we were sort of at our lowest of lows. He brought in these young players and he brought through the system, which is obviously what Billy's done with Queensland right now. And he's just become a little bit mixed with it in terms of the way that the game planning, the style of play. The first 2 games we played like a very Penrith system.
Yeah.
And I think what needs to happen is he just needs to have some sort of some friends with him in terms of figuring out how New South Wales want to play Origin moving forward, if that's the guy that it's going to be.
You just want the coach's box rounded out with some more New South Wales elite minds to give him a hand.
I do, and I want one more from Freddie because if Freddie goes, I think Sticky Ricky put his hand up and saying that he'd be interested. I don't know what else is there.
I personally, if he's an option, I'll take it because if there's a man with the passion to lead, a struggling 2 series losses in a row New South Wales team and getting them up to winning State of Origin football again, it's Ricky fucking Stewart.
I know.
Imagine the sprays in that camp.
It does actually become quite interesting because now Jack White and his buddy is leaving to the Bunnies next year. So will this sort of be Ricky then going, okay, well, I'll take on this challenge if this is what they want, or what's going to happen? But look, I want Freddie one more year, but just fucking make some better decisions.
I don't. I want him gone because personally, I feel like Billy Slater came in and just reacted to all the... You say Fittler came in and he made wholesale changes and he made a real positive impact on the New South Wales team. Queensland have now come back, got him Billy Slater in, and he's counteracted that with his ball playing. So, Fittler, go. Yeah. We need someone to re-counteract Billy Slater.
Which is... I don't know. I don't know what's next, but I'm happy that they didn't get swept. I still think, again, coaching decisions were a little bit confusing in terms of like blooding in some new players when we potentially had the choice.
Yeah.
We didn't do it, but we didn't get swept, and so Origin's over and we'll see what happens next year.
Exactly. I will just say about Queensland, they missed Reece Walsh, man.
Oh, yeah. 100%. We were talking a little bit about this throughout the day, and the backdoor plays... Brimo played safe, but when you put Reece Walsh on an edge out the back of DCE, out the back of Munster, and he's got space, speed,
that footwork, that ball pump.
It's just, eyebrows, nails, he's just the full package.
Quads.
Quadzilla. It's just, he's just got X Factor all over.
And 10 points is actually a reflection of Reece Walsh's impact because in the second half, they were never dominated through the middle like they have been in the previous games. But in the second half, they were actually kind of competitive and outworking the New South Wales forwards. Yeah. And they had quite a fair bit of territory, which, has been pretty rare for them in the first two games. Like, they were just capitalizing opportunities in those first two games. They actually had a good amount of territory and opportunity in that second half. And if Reece Walsh was in there, we might not be looking at a 2-1 score. We might be looking at a sweep, low key.
Honestly, I don't think it's even low key because I was sitting on the couch. I think it was probably 11:30, and it was just like absolutely battling. And I was nervous. I was really nervous because, like you said, they had the territory in the bag. They had possession. They had the field territory as well. And like you said, we were just waiting for that spark. And it was like Hammer was bringing it, but Brimo wasn't quite there, and had Reece Walsh been there.
Well, it was what was it, 2014, and then they had that try disallowed that would have made it 24-16. I was like,
that was the bat back from Taulangi back to Hammer.
And I thought
if that had happened, could have been game
wide open.
Okay, we'll jump into headlines. I've just got two for us into this. Now, Blake Taaffe was pictured earlier this week meeting with Bulldogs recruitment manager Peter Sharp and Phil Gould. Now, Taaffe has been struggling to make the 17 on and off throughout the season with the Rabbitohs this year. Obviously, he's not going to crack that side in terms of we've got Latrell Mitchell and Jack Wyden and God knows what else. Bulldogs have obviously got Stephen Crichton coming next season. Is this potentially a good play for them, looking to pick up a young Taaffe and sort of balancing out the side again, or potentially now looking at playing? I know Stephen Crichton's probably going to come over to the Dogs to play fullback, but might have him in that centre role and have Blake Taaffe at the back for some more depth. Do you like that?
Well, they are losing Averillo, and that does open up spots in the Bulldogs' backline. And Blake Taaffe, in his opportunities lately, with Latrell Mitchell being out, he has shown some electricity. He's shown me a bit of pace that I didn't know he had, and he's actually injected himself well into these games. They haven't been looking too great lately, but he's been all right in those efforts. So I think if you're looking to replace an electric young player like a Jake Averillo, Blake Taaffe does a pretty good job there, and he is somewhat versatile. You can maybe mix and match his positioning. The thing is, they've got versatile backs with Stephen Crichton coming in as well. You say he wants to play fullback, but if injuries start happening, which we've seen with the Bulldogs this year, has fucking absolutely happened, you can play Stephen Crichton centre. You can play him fullback. You can maybe play him wing at a stretch, but I like this move. I reckon he covers a hole that Averillo leaves them.
Yeah, I agree. Now, Payne Haas's management has confirmed today that he will test the value on the open market as of November 1st. Now, obviously, his little brother plays on the Gold Coast. Do we think it might be a possibility that they absolutely throw the bag at big Payne Haas? And imagine that forward pack or three-headed monster of Fafita, Haas, and Fasul Malawi. It'd be...
Oh my God, that is an even better image in my head than maybe the Monstars we were talking about last week with the Bulldogs and Kikau and Pangai Jr. I really like that because it's basically, well, no, it's not. I was going to say it's Queensland's forward pack, but obviously Payne Haas is an Origin. It's basically an Origin all-star forward pack.
Yeah.
So I don't know what their cap situation is coming up. I know they've got what's happening with Tino and
they've re-signed Tino. They've re-signed Fafita.
I think wow.
Fafita took unders on that.
Yeah.
I'm not sure exactly what it was for Tino, but we'd spoken about a little bit in terms of the loophole in their contracts. Now that names skip my mind, Holbrook's left, that loophole sort of opens it up, and they're going to need to re-sign them. So. Maybe if I'm the Titans and I'm looking at this and we say, hey, Tino, we could bring over Payne for a little bit more. Benny Hunt's not happy at the Dragons. We could see an absolute overhaul in the Titans.
Okay, well, that might push Tino away because Payne and Tino have a little bit of beef, don't they?
Yeah, I guess, yeah. One sees red, one sees blue. But I think if they were looking at a premiership.
Yeah. And we were saying that the Titans aren't too many pieces away from getting this done. And a player like Payne Haas and maybe... someone for that number 7 role. Tanner Boyd's been good, but if they can get a better, more elite number 7, this is definitely looking like a team that could compete for premiership.
Yeah, I agree. It's going to be very interesting, though, to see what happens with Payne because we saw a very similar situation at the back end of last season in terms of the unhappiness and just the Bulldog season, the Broncos season unraveling, and they've got injuries in camp at the moment. And if Payne's going to start doing this kind of shit, it's a little bit concerning for them. As for our takeaways, so my takeaway from this one is I think we need to take 3 to 4 weeks off in the middle of the season to play just Origin. And so 3 weekends, back to back to back, the side selected before the game, and you're only allowed to say maybe 2 player swaps throughout the competition in terms of being able to make adjustments to your side, but we have unlimited injury replacement.
Okay.
Now, when you have games where Bulldogs are losing 66-0 to the Knights and then beating the Rabbitohs the following week, I'm not saying it was all to do with the Origin stars, but that certainly does not help. And I think it'd be better for the NRL season because you don't want, we've spoken about this already, you don't want Origin players backing up. Origin's on a Wednesday and you're backing up to play again on the Friday. If you're giving them that whole week, you've got 3 weeks to play Origin, your full week rest, Origin, full week rest, in terms of just the actual benefits it is for the players as well. We'd start seeing a few less buys within the actual season so that the season could actually sort of run a little bit smoother. And then we could start look at introducing maybe the New Zealand Indigenous sort of round as well, because we don't want 3 weeks off for all the Aussies. And then, you know, obviously we as the Warriors capitalise on this break in terms of Origin selections, and this is a very good time for us, but also look at introducing New Zealand playing leftover players that aren't involved on Origin and an Indigenous sort of type. We might see a Pacific sort of thing.
Yeah, I was thinking like a New Zealand Tonga test or Fiji.
Exactly, just for those guys that actually aren't involved in Origin to then sort of play their footy and just, you know, keep going. So, I think if we were it could condense the year down. We can take our break through Origin and actually focus on just Origin, and I don't know. It's a little bit interesting.
I like it. I've said many times before that the NRL is the toughest competition in the world.
Absolutely.
And Origin is a big part of that because you just block that in the middle and then you got some guys playing 3 games in like a 10-day span. And then they're also playing like 28 rounds, tack on another like 4 or 5 weeks of playoffs. It's just a hard, brutal competition that I think
we could improve.
Some players could benefit off having a break.
Yeah.
And it could, you know, help alleviate some of these injury concerns that teams are getting absolutely riddled by, like your Bulldogs and like other teams in the Rabbitohs, other teams in the comp right now. So I really like your idea. I think it should serve as like an all-star break.
Yeah.
The way the NBA does it. I like it.
And then we may see Origin played on a weekend where we can all enjoy and not have to back up with, I think I'm on coffee number 5 today.
Oh, bro, it was a shocker.
It's an absolute battle.
I did, 6 hours of driving. I had an 11-day hour of work, and I'm working off about 4 hours sleep. So
yeah,
my bloodstream is just caffeine.
So I don't know. That's my takeaway, because I think it might serve multiple, or could serve a lot of benefits. And it'll be interesting to see how it sort of might play out. And in terms of the Indigenous round, that game that happens at the beginning of the season, we just have so many players pull out because they want to focus on the NRL season. And I don't know, I guess that could happen if we're doing this sort of thing, but it might just be a little bit better because we're fully invested into NRL at the NRL regular season, and then we get a exhibition sort of all-star game.
Yeah, it keeps the competitive structure of the competition intact, the competitive integrity. That's what I'm trying to say.
Yeah.
Because, like you said, the Bulldogs are losing 66-0, then turning around and beating the Rabbitohs. Obviously, something's amiss. This isn't a fair competition where points are earned at the same sort of value, especially when the best teams have all their Origin players out, and they're jockeying for...
The Cowboys, for example.
The Sharks is another one. They don't lose any Origin players during that time, and they're in a top 4 spot. So the Rabbitohs are probably spewing at that situation. So
it could be interesting. And then you could sort of just take into account where you're selecting your one squad, and now obviously maybe the game one hasn't gone to play with you, and you make those adjustments within your squad, and it sort of becomes a little bit more technical. You might only get 2 sort of interchange. When am I going to actually pull that player and put that player in, and injuries?
All the emphasis is on Origin and the adjustments you make from game to game, instead of having to worry about they can drop this player and let him back up for his team and whatnot.
Exactly.
Just keep it all Origin focused, and then back to the NRL, and you can invest all into the comp again.
Especially when you get the likes of the Panthers as well, when they're playing like New South Wales Cup sides, and it's good for them to get their run, but
and still winning.
Exactly. As for the fans, we want to see the Stars play.
Exactly.
What was your takeaway?
Yeah, my takeaway is clear sky at night, Warriors delight, that old saying. And basically it's just that the Warriors aren't going anywhere. They're coming off a 46-10 victory, demolishing the short-handed Eels. And the only thing that stands between them and a good playoff spot is rain.
Yeah.
By the looks of things. Because it was a pretty clear night, as we expected. A cold night, but still great for Warriors running footy. And the game started at a frantic pace, and it actually saw the Warriors making 8 errors in the first 30 minutes. But once they settled in, the game's pace worked completely to the Warriors' advantage. And they broke the Eels apart, and they made 12 line breaks in this game, and it came from both great work around the ruck by the likes of Egan and Harris, and then a great connection between the halves and their second rowers. I thought Johnson was linking up with Barnett well all night.
Yeah.
Metcalf was doing well with his forward all night. It was just fantastic what they were doing, and it was a great team effort. Heaps of players starred in this game, but there was 2 players, one that started in the first half and one that started in the second half. And I've already mentioned him. It was Luke Metcalf, who was outstanding in the first half, showing his running threat and just, it's that footwork that we maybe bag Luai for in Origin for overusing. But in this game, he used it tastefully. He saw his opportunities, because I don't think he had a whole lot of running meters.
No.
He was quite low in that department. But when he did decide to use the feet, it was off broken play, and he found his way to the try line. 2 tries, 2 line breaks, 2 line break assists, 1 try assist, and 6 tackle breaks. Man, he was good. He's looking good in that number 6 role.
Yeah. He's he's really strong for a guy. He's come from the Sharkies. He's played a few first grade matches in there. That's why I didn't mention him as a rookie to watch this season. But man, he's doesn't look out of place at all. And I was really excited to see how he went this season with limited opportunity, but I didn't really expect this from him this sort of early, and I kind of thought that it might just be a few games at the back end of the season that he'd actually take off to Mate Martin, but that jersey's his, man.
That jersey is his, and another man that is keeping his second row spot, even though he's been named at prop, but he's keeping a starting spot, is my point, is Mitch Barnett, and he was outstanding in the second half, mostly with his line running, and he ended up with 84 fantasy points, 2 tries, 183 run meters, 3 line breaks, 4 tackle breaks, 29 tackles, and this is the big one, 0 missed tackles. And the start of the game saw the Eels putting a lot of pressure on the Warriors, and we held out. And to see 0 missed tackles from him, outstanding.
It's important. It's very important.
One of the commentators said something as well, and I thought, hey, that is very interesting. Potential Origin Smokey, Mitch Barnett, like I could imagine him in that Tarek Sims role that Tarek Sims has been used in the last couple of years, where he kind of comes off the bench and he's an enforcer and he's reliable and does hard runs, makes hard tackles. But I don't hate it. No. I don't know how old Mitch Barnett is, but he could get an opportunity somewhere down the line. He's kind of hidden down here in New Zealand, but
I don't hate it at all. I really thought that Dylan Walker was close to being a smoky in this one as well, because just his impact that he could have provided off the bench would have been kind of maybe a bit more useful than Gutho, but Warriors have got some dogs playing at the moment. Before I move on to my player as well, Tohu Harris really impressed me.
Yeah, he did.
He's just Mr. Reliable, but that guy had both knees strapped up, shoulder strapped up. He did something to his ankle. He come off. He got that strapped up. Yeah. And I think there was 5 minutes left or something like that. We were absolutely caning the Eels. And then they've just used their last interchange and it was like, here comes Tohu Harris. He just wants to be out on wants to be out on the field just with the boys. And he's a great leader.
Yeah, I wonder. He probably, what does he weigh? 110 kilos?
Yeah.
I reckon he's up around 120, 125 after all his tape's been added.
Yeah.
He looks like a fucking mummy out there.
Yeah. Good couple of rolls of the sticky stuff on it. As for the player that impressed me, now I'm going Jaden Campbell. So he moves back to the bench again this weekend. Unfortunately for him, but he got the start again in this one, and it was just fantastic display. His complete talents were on full display against the Dolphins. Now, he had no tries, he had no try assists, but he had 9 tackle breaks, 2 offloads, 2 line breaks, 1 line break assist. But when you watch the performance in this one, it's like pretty much from every single week, you just see him creating something out of absolutely nothing. And the ability to just change direction on a dime, blistering speed, the ability at only 80 kilos to just break tackles at ease like that. Now, he ran for a total of 315 run meters on 26 runs. He was just absolutely ridiculous workload, but he broke the record for the most run meters in a single game by a Titans player in NRL history, which was fantastic to see. And for me, I don't know what the future holds for this guy, but Jaden Campbell has a very, very bright future in front of him. Brimo's an Origin star there in the making, and we've got fullback depth at that club, but this guy is very, very close to just absolutely bursting onto the NRL scene.
Yeah, and 80 kilos, that is not a lot on him. That's probably the size of one of David Fafita's meals. But we talked about earlier this season about Gutherson and maybe a lack of X Factor, or that's what the Eels were putting it.
Yeah.
If there's a guy that exudes only X Factor, it's Jaden Campbell, because he has it written all over his game. He will have a spot in this league somewhere, whether it be off the bench as a 14 or starting as a fullback. A team will take a chance on him because that's what he can spark. He's kind of like Reece Walsh, but maybe even smaller. He can spark something for your team. He can spark something for your offense, and he will still have a spot in this league going forward.
He's very close to sort of like a Tyrell Sloan sort of uncanny ability, where Sloan's just that little bit bigger and can absorb a little bit more impact and sort of take the full demand of a fullback in the NRL at the moment. But Jaden's so close to that. And once he's sort of...
Oh, Jaden's better in my eyes.
Oh, 100%. Yeah. And his upside is just absolutely ridiculous. It's just... We just need to see him sort of... I feel like he just needs a little bit more... An opportunity
for starters is what he needs, because it's hard getting a crack over Brimson. Like you said, he's a Queensland fullback. So.
Yeah, exactly. So it'd be interesting.
Yeah, what is a team... I'm trying to think of the landscape of the NRL right now.
Raiders.
That is good.
Yeah.
What's happening with Savage, though?
I don't know what's happening in terms of that locker room, because Sebastian Chris has been playing some good footy this year, and they've extended him, but he's not that X factor fullback, and he's a great centerpiece for them. And when you've got a guy like Xavier Savage, that we saw the ability that he had to just break a game open last season, it was just errors that sort of were holding him back at the time. But it's a shame, but that is for me one team that could use Jaden Campbell.
Damn, that is a good one. And just surveying in my mind the landscape of fullbacks in the NRL, we have a lot of talented fullbacks around this league. It is a tough position to want to crack. But like I said, he has versatility off the bench, could be a 14 for a team. He's just got to be in there somewhere.
Absolutely.
Maybe it's at the Titans. Maybe he stays home. But the player that impressed me the most from this round is Siosifa Talakai. And after a poor performance last year in Origin where he dropped the ball, he was forcing plays, and he was a big part of us losing momentum and then losing that game, I was fully out on this guy. I was not a Talakai fan, but he slowly, with his performances this year, been earning my respect back.
Yeah.
And I think he is in sensational form. And usually in games, he has been really good with the soft hands and finding Mulatalo. And that's why we've seen Mulatalo score so many tries, because he's a big body that draws in so much attention. And then he's got a nice soft skill set to where he can flick off nice little tip passes and get Mulatalo in space and scoring tries. But in this game, he kind of did the opposite thing, because at the end of the day, it says on NRL.com, I looked this up, he's 100 kilos, but I'm thinking that's more like 105 to 110, somewhere in that range. And he's quite powerful. He's got nice little footwork, and they were sort of drifting off him, the Tigers were, and he just sort of tucked the ball and had a go, and he was creating some havoc. And when he can blend that havoc-causing running ability with that soft skill that he possesses, this dude is a top-tier center, and it's almost like, who's that guy that was on form for the Raiders ages ago? Joseph Leilua.
Yes.
Is that a name you remember?
Yeah.
He kind of plays like that.
Yes.
Both similar attributes in terms of size and skill. But in this game, it was the power. 2 tries, 181 run meters, 2 line breaks, 6 tackle breaks. Talakai, you're back, man.
Yeah.
You're back in my good graces, and I wouldn't be mad if you had like an Origin shot this year. But Bradman Best played good. We'll keep him. But if you keep it up, we might have you next year.
I wonder if Morgan Harbour still has nightmares over that performance, because I was actually
wakes up in cold sweats.
Yeah, I was looking at doing like a little edit with the Miley Cyrus. I came in like a wrecking ball, because he's just a fucking cannon, man. That dude goes, and
he's got his feet move like a million miles an hour. They're little
And now he's got the mullet fully out now as well, and it's just it's great to see. But he's a great piece of that Sharkies attack,
for sure.
and when that unlocks, it fucking unlocks. All right, into the preview. So the Knights take on the Tigers at McDonald's Jones Stadium. Now Dan Gagai in for the Knights, and Bradman Best has been named. Will be interesting to see if he actually does play. Alex Twal, Brett Naden, Dane Laurie, and Api Coruscant are back for the Tigers.
That's
now,
big.
The Knights have won the last 3 games against the Tigers, and the Tigers only have a 47% win rate here. So coming into this one, neither team has won on a Friday night this season, but the Knights do have a pretty decent record at home this year. In this one, I'm going to be picking the Knights here, and my best bet for the game will be Knights at a minus 12.5, $1.95.
So, Knights, $1.28 favourites, and Tigers, $3.75 underdogs, with the line sitting at plus 10.5. I will also be taking the Knights here because they've actually shown that they can blow teams away at home as well. So, I've actually gone the Knights 13 plus. The Tigers, for me, are unbackable, especially after that 74-0 loss. And then last week they were competitive, but it still ended up 13 plus. So, with Will Smith and Wakeham in the halves, it doesn't give me a very confident feeling about them going forward. Coruscant coming back is big, and we might see a competitive contest for the first half in this one as well. But I'm expecting Ponga to start taking over, the halves to get going, Marzu and Young starting to get some free-flowing ball, and I think the Knights will blow this one out. So I've got the Knights here, 13 plus at $2.
Nice. Into the Bulldogs versus Broncos at Belmore Sports Ground. So Josh Adokar and Alamonte named for the Dogs. Kurt Capewell back for the Broncos, while Payne Haas still remains out. Now, the Broncos have won 5 of the last 6 against the Bulldogs. The Broncos have a 100% win rate here, and the Bulldogs only have a 43% win rate,
Sheesh.
which is wild considering that the Broncos are the away team. Few injuries for the Broncos still in camp, but look, I'm really expecting them to get this one done, and kind of comfortably. The line when I took it was sitting at a minus 6.5, so that's my best bet for the game. I feel like they're going to cover just over a try, and that's sitting at $1.87.
Yeah, so the line hasn't moved that much. You got the Broncos $1.40 and the Bulldogs $3 underdogs, with the line sitting at plus 7.5. Yeah, it is quite close, the line, considering the form of these two teams. I know the Bulldogs got it done last week, but just the week before that, what happened? They lost 66-0. And they beat the Rabbitohs, but that wasn't the Rabbitohs. That was like the Rabbitohs New South Wales Cup team.
Yeah.
Broncos are dealing with a few injuries themselves, but they're still a good team, and they're still more than capable of beating the Bulldogs and beating the Bulldogs comfortably. So I've also taken the line, which is minus 7.5 for me at $1.91. And because I've been getting a little bit of stick from you guys, and you guys have been changing my fundamental definition of a lock, I've gone a little bit riskier this week.
Yeah.
And I'm going to say that is my lock of the round. Broncos minus 7.5. I'm going to take that.
Nice.
Oh, sorry. I've also got my smoky in this game as well. Kurt Capewell sitting at $3.50.
Yeah.
The Bulldogs have looked a little bit vulnerable around the forwards, and Kurt Capewell knows how to run a nice line and gather little grubber kicks that either Reynolds or Mam does for him. So I'll see if Kurt Capewell can go over. I think he's a decent smoky.
Nice. Now Manly take on the Cowboys at 4 Pines Park. So Benny Turbo out for Manly, and pretty much the same 17 for the Cowboys. Again, it will be interesting to see how the Origin boys back up from this one. So Manly have won 3 of the last 4 games against the Cowboys, but the most recent meeting between these two teams was last year when the Cowboys put on that absolute clinic and finished with 3 tries in the last 7 minutes to come from behind and win 28-26. That was a fantastic game to watch. Now, the only thing that worries me in this one is the amount of players coming out of Origin for the Cowboys, which is why I'm leaning to Manly in this one. I think the record speaks for itself with Manly being at home. Besides Turbo not being in that team, I think this is actually a really strong team for Manly in this one. So I'm going to be taking them in this one, and I've got written down here, you can see I was in 2 minds at the Cowboys. I was initially going to take them, but I'm going to take Manly head-to-head in this one.
Damn, I thought we were going to be kumbaya with our 3rd pick in a row, but I guess not. But just firstly, on the odds, you've got the Cowboys, $1.62 favourites, and the Seagulls, $2.30 underdogs, with the line, as you said, sitting at plus 3.5. I have decided to take that Cowboys line because they're one of the hottest teams in the league, and I can't look past that. And I know there is concerns over players backing up so close to Origin on Wednesday, but they did it last time and they looked fucking impressive when they did do it. I don't know that there is any injuries or nicks to the players that played in Origin, so I think they're going to be willing to back up because they are rolling at the moment. Yeah. And when you're rolling and you're a team in good form, you want to play. You want to be on that field. So I'm assuming they're going to back up. I'm assuming they're going to keep this form and beat a strong on paper Seagulls team. I think this could be a close game, but just in case it isn't, just in case the Cowboys are feeling themselves like they have been, I'm going to take the minus 3.5 at $1.87.
Nice. In terms of talking about backing up from injury in that Cowboys squad, there's only one player that actually, or in the spine, that actually played some sort of Origin, and that was Reece Robson, because we had Drinky and we had Dearden that were in the squads, but they didn't play.
Oh, well, Valentine.
I'm just talking about the
spine itself? Yep,
yeah.
okay.
And Reece Robson didn't play a hell of a lot of minutes as well. Right. So they are functioning really well. It does worry me a little bit, but unlike Mr. Simon that's not here and can't pick his team, I'm staying loyal and up Manly.
Do you have his locks, Simon?
Yeah,
okay,
I do.
cool.
I'll mention them later on. Roosters take on the Storm at Sydney Cricket Ground. So we've got Billy Smith, Brandon Smith and Suali'i in for the Roosters, and Jackson Polo is out. Pretty much same 17 for the Storm in this as well.
That's scary.
Both teams have good win records at this venue. They're both sitting at around 70% each, but the Storm have won 6 of their last 7 games against the Roosters, with a good chunk of those being by 13-plus margin. So both teams come into this off the bye, but I think the Storm definitely have the edge here, and that's why I'm going to be taking them at a minus 3.5 at $1.91.
Yeah, Storm, $1.56 favourites, and Roosters $2.45 underdogs, with the line, it must have moved a little bit to plus 4.5.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was kind of going off my intuition of thinking that Storm Roosters games are usually pretty close, but I didn't actually look it up. So you telling me the Storm usually win 13 plus is kind of throwing me off a little bit. I just remember games between them being kind of close. And that's what I think it's going to be here, because the Roosters do have a strong forward pack. They can compete and make games close. That is evidenced by the last result with the Seagulls, where they lost 18-16. I think it's going to be something like that, a back and forth affair with the Storm eventually scoring more tries, maybe at the end of the first half and then at the start of the second half to kind of break the game open and give themselves like a 8-point buffer, 10-point buffer. I've actually gone Storm 1-12 at $3.10. I just have a feeling this might be a close game.
Yeah, Cheese coming back.
Roosters have got a lot to prove as well.
Yeah, Cheese coming back for them is going to be quite a big one. And the attacking flair that Suoli'i obviously brings out on that edge will be great for them too. Now the Sharkies take on the Warriors at Go Media Stadium. We've got Bunty Afoa out, Curran back in, Haminueli also in for Cronulla. So this is where it gets very interesting for me. I'd mentioned it on our last podcast, so you want to settle into this one.
Okay.
Sharks have won 6 of the last 8 against the Warriors, and the Warriors won most of the recent meetings between, won the most recent meeting between the two teams, 32-30 in round 5,
Fantastic
which was a great comeback. Now the Sharks have won 5 of the last 6 against the Warriors in New Zealand, and the Warriors have now had a win against Parramatta and had the Parramatta curse cursed on them.
Oh, no.
So now, I believe in 2023, there's a Parramatta curse. Every team that beats the Eels loses the following week, and this stretches all the way back to the 2022 Grand Final. So the Panthers defeated the Eels 28-12 to win the premiership, lost in round 1 to the Broncos. The Storm defeated the Eels in round 1, lost in round 2 to the Bulldogs. Sharks defeated the Eels in round 2, lost to the Raiders in round 3. Manly defeated the Eels in round 3 and lost to South Sydney the week after.
Way.
The Roosters defeated the Eels in round 5, lost to the Storm in round 6. Broncos defeated the Eels in round 8, lost to South Sydney in round 9. The Broncos defeated the Eels in round 8, and lost to South Sydney in round 9. The Titans defeated the Eels in round 10. They lost to the Knights in round 11. The Raiders defeated the Eels in round 11 and lost to Manly in round 12. The Warriors then defeated the Eels over the weekend. Can they break the curse? I really don't know where to go in this one. We've got a lot of players that are coming into this fresh without any origin sort of feeling about it. But like you said, I'm pretty sure the weather seems fine on Sunday. I'm going to be leaning towards the home team in this one. And my best bet for the game, I'm picking the Warriors head-to-head at $2. And that's where my lock of the week comes in. So I'm going to go DWZ into the Warriors at a plus 17.25 at $2. So I know that's a real hefty line, but when the Warriors are coming into this at an underdog, I'm going to take a real big blanket at 17.5, and I'm just going to give you a nice little double your money scenario.
Hey, I like it. I really like it. And you say that this is a close game, that no one knows who to pick, and the odds perfectly reflect that. Sharks $1.87 favorites, I say favorites in quotation marks, and Warriors $1.95 underdogs, with the line sitting at a ignorable plus 1.5. That Parramatta curse stuff you brought up is fucking crazy.
That is actually wild. It's in full effect, and whenever it's wild.
It's a perfect reflection of who Parramatta is as a team, because on their best day they can beat anyone, and the teams that they beat are usually teams that fucking go on to win most of their other games. So it makes sense. The pattern makes sense. Warriors at home are curse breakers. Yeah. I know they lost last time out to Rabbitohs, but I don't count that as a home game. I count that as like a Bangkok rain season.
Yeah, thunderstorm,
torrential.
tropical. Yeah.
That was not our country. That was the Amazon rainforest or something. It is going to be clear weather this weekend. It's meant to be a little cold with chances of showers, but nothing like last time we played here where it was torrential. I think I have to lean the Warriors. This is a completely difficult game to pick because the Sharks' firepower is up there with the best in the league.
Yeah.
But the Warriors have firepower too, and we're starting to play off some really good shape. Johnson is in fantastic form. Metcalf's starting to come into his own. And there's one thing that I would favor for the Warriors as opposed to the Sharks. We're just a little bit harder in the forward pack.
Yeah.
Aiden Fanua-Blake, low-key up there with Payne Haas as prop of the year candidate.
For sure.
I think I have to lean with the Warriors 1-12, $3.40 to get it done.
For me, this is game of the round, and Warriors are
for sure.
Warriors are curse breakers. Metcalf coming up against the Sharkies as well. He didn't get that chance, I don't believe, last time. There's history with Mulatalo out on that edge as well, and the Sharkies are one of...
It's history with what we did to them last time.
Yeah, so we're going to want to, foot on the throat type of stuff. That's what the Warriors are this season, and it's going to be a great game.
And go like and share our post on Instagram because you have a chance to be at this fantastic game.
Exactly. That'll be drawn tomorrow. I should hopefully have the show up tomorrow morning. So we'll drum that in. Now the Dolphins take on the Panthers at KO Stadium. So we've got Kafusi in and the Hammer named at center again. Sony Luke back and Cleary named at 24, which I believe actually has a good chance at playing. So that will be interesting. First clash for these two, and they both have 100% win rates at this stadium with 2 each. Now, I'm going to be going Penrith in this one, and this could be a game that goes well overs for me. The Dolphins have been really struggling, and I think the Panthers are really starting to figure out that form, and they're going to come into this one, I believe, rolling into it. Now, the Dolphins, I think the last 2 or 3 games have covered close to a 20-point line, and I think Panthers are going to go well over that. So my best bet for the game is I'm going points over 44.5 at $1.91. And
total points?
Yeah. And this is where my try scorer smoky comes in. I'm going to Liam Martin at $3.50. So he's been lurking around that edge, and I think the Panthers are going to run a few pies in this one. And Luai's coming into it fresh, so he's going to be looking to feed the beast. And he's only had 1 this season, which kind of blew my mind. I thought he'd actually touched down quite a few times. So yeah, my try scorer smoky. I'm going to Liam Martin.
Well, he's driven up the value by the fact that he's not scoring, and I think he's a good chance in this game as well. The Panthers are huge favourites in this one, $1.15, and the Dolphins are $5.50 underdogs, with the line sitting at a hefty 15.5 point spread. The delinquent in me did consider the Dolphins line.
You're not a delinquent.
Well, I've done some very delinquent betting moves in my time. In the weekend, I took a stab at Bo Nickel's opponent because he was paying like $8 and he's a massive prospect. But anyway, back to the game. I can't do it though for this game because the Panthers are rolling at the moment and they're looking like a well-structured, well-oiled team that is, won premierships the last 2 seasons. They're looking like they're in that sort of form. And with the chance that Cleary comes back and plays in this one, I think you got to stick with the Panthers no matter how big the line is. And I'm going to go Panthers 13 plus. I know the line's only 2 points further than that at plus 15. I'll just stick with the nice, tasty 13 plus just in case the Dolphins, get it going and can close those 2 points. I don't know. Maybe just take the line. But that's sitting at $1.68. Yeah, it's just unlucky scheduling for the Dolphins because I think the team's starting to get the pieces back together.
Yeah, I agree. But I mean, look, it's the injuries that affected them earlier on the season are really started to sort of come up now, and Kafusi, with the amount of suspensions that he had, just hasn't really been around the camp.
I wonder what he's paying for on report.
Yeah, be
$1.01.
One of your locks.
Yeah.
Now the Eels take on the Titans at Combank Stadium. So Gutho, Moses, and RCG have all been named for the Eels. Brimo, Fafita, Fodawaker, and Tino have all been named for the Titans. This is the last game of the round as well, so I'm expecting these guys to front up.
Yeah.
The Eels have a 60% win rate here, and the Titans only have a 33% win rate. Now, the Titans beat them in their most recent match, but the Eels have won the last 7 games in a row prior to that. And the only thing that really stands out here is those in the last 3 games have been decided by a 1-12 margin. I'm going to be tipping the Titans here.
Whoa.
And
I don't hate it.
Nah, neither do I. I think they're right around that top 8 team. They're an X-Factor team. And when they get it rolling, they really get it rolling. And the last couple of weeks, they've been real unlucky to sort of just not quite put it all together. Origin's done now. Those stars will be back for them. And I reckon they're going to really take it to here. Okay. So my best bet for the game, I'm on Titans on the plus 8.5. Like I said, I was taking them head to head, but I think they're going to be covering a line, obviously.
Just for safety.
And that's at $1.87.
Safety first and then teamwork. Eels, $1.40 favourites. Titans, $3 underdogs with the line, as you said, at plus 8.5. Yeah, besides last week's result, which wasn't really the Eels, like they were missing a whole bunch of players, the Eels have looked really good. They've been rolling and they've been actually putting teams away pretty comfortably. I'm expecting them to come in with that form, especially with Moses coming back and all their origin players coming back into the lineup and probably playing because this is on a Sunday, like you said, I think they could do not a whooping because I could see both teams scoring a lot. That's why, as one of my props to play here, I've got total points over 49.5 at $1.87. I could see both these teams scoring 20 plus, but I could also see the Eels maybe breaking away and getting closer to that 40-point mark, especially if they're rolling. I could see a similar result to what the Eels had with the Dolphins a couple of weeks ago. So I've gone the Eels minus 8.5 to cover that line at $1.95. And then also for our three-way try scorer multi, I'm going to chuck in Mike Acevo at $1.42, which is not a great contribution on my part, but I think he's just, with the try scoring potential of both of these teams, and especially if I'm thinking the Eels are going to win, I could easily see him crossing for a try.
Nice. That wraps up the preview for us. So Smokies for the week, I've gone Liam Martin in at $3.50. Simon, his Smoky for the week, he's gone Phoenix Crossland at $5, which is actually quite tasty on that.
I don't hate that.
Nah. What was your Smoky again for the week?
My Smoky was Kurt Capewell at $3.50.
Nice. As for locks, I've gone DWZ into the Warriors at a plus 17.5 at a nice double your money. Simon's lock of the week, he went Storm head-to-head at $1.55.
Hey, that's actually a reasonable lock for him.
Yeah.
And I've gone Broncos minus 7.5 at $1.91.
Nice. And as for the try score of Trivector, Simon's locked in Murray Taulagi. You had locked in Mike Acevo. And for me, I've gone Justin Olam. He's playing his 100th NRL game this weekend. He's up against the Roosters in that. And we all know guys love to score on their hundies this season. I'm going to pop all of that up on our threads and we'll have all the odds and all of that kind of stuff for you. No fact or fiction this week. No fun playing it with one person. We'll play it when Simon gets back. All Blacks, fantastic win over Argentina. Kicked off the rugby championship in style. Geordie Barrett, fantastic. Rico Ioane, fantastic. Narawa got a try on debut.
Love to see it.
Dan Cole's first meat pie was just in it the best of it. Great performance. When you look at it from the All Blacks, I was really impressed by D-Mac and the way he controlled the ship. It was great to see him get the first run at that. And look, I was really impressed. And we're in good hands if anything happens moving forward. It's going to be interesting taking on a big South African pack. And we spoke off air just beforehand in terms of All Blacks. First try was fantastic off a rolling maul. That's what we saw. South Africa are going to defend that very well.
There's no way that's happening. That easily anyway.
Exactly. Broken play, absolutely fantastic. The flair's there. The attacking threats are there. Just applying pressure. It's going to be interesting. Yeah. It's going to be very interesting in terms of phases.
The All Blacks team that played on the weekend, I call the Attack All Blacks. And that's basically off the back of Damien McKenzie and what he's willing to do as a first five. And like you said, their tries came from all sorts of aspects of the game. You had early shifts in their own half that led to a try, beautiful set piece moves close to the line, and then also a little bit further out with that try where Damien McKenzie showed blistering pace to set up, I forget who was on the end of it on the outside, but ran across through the line, set up his outside, and then their execution in the strike zone and their structure was beautiful as well with McKenzie. I think he had 3 try assists all up.
Yeah.
So he had his fingerprints on multiple aspects of this game and showed good attacking flair. What we've done this week, we've named what I like to call the tactical All Blacks.
Yeah.
And that's where Richie Mo'unga comes into play. And maybe it's tactical on the coaches' front as to why they've put Richie Mo'unga in for the reasons that you've elaborated on in terms of the quality of the South African defense, the quality of the South African set piece, and how much more just pressure they're going to put on us in those departments. We can't just run through them like we could slightly weaker Argentina. So yeah, this game is going to be real interesting. The delinquent in me, it's my favorite word this episode, would like to see Damien McKenzie get a crack against these solid teams because he's just creative. He's innovative. And sometimes when it's a brutal arm wrestle between 2 forward packs, you need a guy like that can spark it open. And it's such a shame that the Crusaders beat the Chiefs in the Super Rugby final because it kind of maybe put into the All Blacks coach's mind that, this is still the way that you win footy is with this tactical, territorial base, never have a go. And, well, they do have goes, but like a much safer style of play is what wins international footy. The Chiefs was just ill-disciplined. The Chiefs showed that you can win with that style of footy. So I don't mind what they've done with this team with Richie Mwanga.
Yeah.
But I would have loved to see Mackenzie get another go.
As for a little takeaway from the Argentinian game moving into this game, the attacking, fantastic. In terms of execution, it's going to be interesting coming up against a squad now that's going to be making dominant tackles moving forward and how we attack from that in terms of phase play. And I think this is going to be quite a low-scoring game. It's on the defensive end for me that's going to be interesting. And if you watch that All Blacks game, they chop-tackled a lot and they sent a jackler over every time. And they were trying to just really eliminate anything from the Argentinians, take the ball and get right back into it. Now you're taking on a South African pack that's fucking huge.
Yeah.
And when the Argentinians sort of started to realize that and could get the offload game away, that's where we sort of started to see a lot more gain line and progression from them. So the All Blacks are really going to have to sort of hammer home dominant tackles in this one to try and sort of eliminate any kind of flow that South Africans can get from it, because those outside backs are just going to cut loose for them. And that's what's going to be really interesting.
And it's good that they've brought Shannon Frizzell in to add a little bit of that physical intensity to the game, because he'll be good around the contact. Artie Savia is always good, and Sam Cane's a little bit dodgy, but yeah, this is going to be a cracking game.
It's going to be fireworks. Sure. As for the team that they've named, in terms of the backline, we've got Smithy, Mwanga, Mark Talia comes back in, Geordie, Rico, Will Jordan, and Bowden Barrett. For me, that's our A team. Maybe Bar, I would like to see.
No.
I'd like to see Whainganuku in there. As for the bench, we've got Finlay, Braden Enoa, and Caleb Clark. So what they've obviously decided is they're going to see how Richie's going in this one in the pressure cooker and whether he gets pulled and Bowden slots in there, or whether Bowden comes out, Jordan goes back, and Caleb goes on. So that rotation is going to be interesting for them. But that is the only thing that I would have really liked to have seen is D-Mac in there and seen just that injection off the bench in a game like this that he could really bring for that attacking flair. Because you imagine Richie's holding the keys to this one. Bowden's doing his thing that he does really well for the All Blacks and his injection from the back. Yeah. But then you bring on Damien and he just takes it up a whole nother level.
He's the Reece Walsh of the All Blacks.
He really is, just without the quads. Yeah. So yeah, it's going to be really interesting. And the man on the poster in this one for me as well is Tamaiti Williams. Is going to be great to see him make his All Blacks debut. And at work today, we were looking through and I was like, I know he's a big bloke. Yeah. He's 6'5" and 145 kilos.
Yeah, I think he was. I can't remember the stat exactly, but I think he's the third heaviest All Black of all time or something.
As a prop, there's like a lock running around within a prop's body. It's just, I can't wait to see him rip into the South Africans.
I used to watch wrestling when I was younger, and I always used to think, what position would the Big Show be? Because he's just like a massive dude who's tall as well. But Tamaiti Williams gives me my answer. The Big Show would be a prop.
Nice.
You weren't much of a wrestling fan.
I wasn't a big one, but yeah, he looks like the Big Show running around.
Should we just get into some predictions for this? Because I've got some odds here. We've got New Zealand as surprisingly big favourites, $1.38, and South Africa $3.20 underdogs, with the line sitting at +6. So where are you going?
I'm going All Blacks.
Okay.
Now, I think this is going to be a real tight, grinded out game. Yeah. And it's going to be some great footy to watch. I love getting up early and watching that Argentinian test match. And international footy for me is just absolutely
Well, this is at a reasonable time.
Exactly.
7 on a Saturday.
Which is great.
Well, reasonable if you're not on the piss. Which I don't have a game this week, so I won't be. Yeah.
You won't be?
I probably won't be. Pinocchio.
I'm going All Blacks here, and to just put one straight on the head, I'm going to say 17-12.
Okay.
I can see there's going to be a few penalties earlier on. Tries are going to be few and far between. Yeah. South Africans going to sort of kick a couple and score maybe a late one and one off a rolling maul or something like that. So just to put one on the head, I'm going to go 17-12.
Okay, so I haven't quite thought of a score to put on the head, but I'm looking at the odds and I've actually gone South Africa +6 at $2 as my betting play, because I agree it's going to be close, and it's going to be close with a chance of South Africa potentially winning it. Like, they have all the chance in the world to win this because they have a talented backline. They got that center, Lukazam Am, who is a fucking gun, bro. Yeah. When I seen him play against the All Blacks, I think last year, I was like, holy fuck, this guy's mean. So they've got talented backs as well, and they always have some cheeky darkies on the wing and stuff like that are really talented. So I think they really have a chance to win this. But if I'm going to pick a score on the nose, I'm going to say something within 6 for the All Blacks, 21-19.
Nice. I like it.
2 tries to 1.
Simon's not here. We've talked about running a tinfoil lads hat for him. Do we think it's being played at Mount Smart? Do we think that the game planners for this were a little bit worried about the Eden Park record and went, we'll just shift them to Mount Smart. We'll keep that one intact. Because it's not like they've got something on at Eden Park or anything like that. They're literally playing the day before the Warriors.
I mean,
it's a bit
that
odd.
Kind of makes sense.
Yeah.
They're thinking the record could be on the line here.
They're thinking +6.
Where are we playing Australia?
This is our last home game. We move overseas.
Oh, okay. So we play Australia back-to-back away.
Yeah.
Oh, damn. I was thinking about getting my parents potentially tickets for that for their birthdays. But yeah, it's tough.
It really is.
Yeah.
Sorry, I'm just quickly looking. I want to find the venue for that one. So we take on the Aussies. Next game's at Melbourne Cricket Ground, and then we take them. Oh, sorry, the next one's at Dunedin. So unless you want to fly them down to Dunners,
no, too cold for that.
Yeah, interesting game. Can't wait to see the results of it. Now UFC. I had a fantastic card.
Damn.
I had a few good pickings in that one.
You did?
I had a big blindfold on, and we saw Dan Hooker with some bleached blonde hair and a tattoo get worked. We saw a gate get open, and we saw Volk absolutely lay down the law in the main card. So I'll take 3 for 3 in that one.
You got 3 for 3, and the supposed UFC guys, big quotation marks on this one. I believe I was 1 from, what did we cover? 5 fights? 2 from 5, because Bo Nickel... That's a wash. Like,
Wait,
that's not exactly a...
Didn't you say...
Yeah, I put some money on the other guy because, like I said, word of the show, I'm a delinquent.
Yeah.
But, in terms of the show, I said Bo Nickel will win first round sub. Ended up being a first round knockout. But all those fights, we don't need to cover those ones. We'll stick with the first major fight, and that was Dan Hooker defeating Jalen Turner by split decision. You back the boy. He got it done in an amazing fight. May have just been pipped for fight of the night because there was another great fight that we'll get to in a second. But round 2 was definitely the round of the night. Craziness. The fight started off a little bit slow, as kind of I was expecting for Dan Hooker.
That's why I'll jump in here. I'm not sure if it was within our chat or in a separate one that we had with Jake and all of those boys, but I saw a message pop up saying someone said Dan Hooker prepared for the fight. Well, didn't prepare for the fight. He just went and got a shit hairdo and a tattoo. And it was like, oh, come on.
He said, instead of attributes, he spent all his 2K points on
bleach.
On fashion stuff. But no, he actually looked all right early. Like, he was moving okay, and he was landing a really nasty leg kick on Jalen Turner, which is a good tactic to use against a guy who tries to march forward and is a very tall guy. But Jalen Turner was winning for the first round and a little bit of the fight, and he was landing nasty body teeps. There was even like it was a hematoma, I believe, on Hooker's body that was from those teeps, and the straight punches down the pipe were landing on Hooker's chin. And then he started really taking over in the second round and landed a flush head kick that was kind of set up by Hooker's reaction of trying to grab the lower kicks that Turner was doing.
Yeah.
So I was thinking, fuck, he's going to eventually go up top with that. And he did in the second round. Clean head kick that Dan Hooker ate like an absolute zombie and just stayed in the fight. Didn't even go down from it.
Which is
stayed in the fight. And then it's almost as if Jalen Turner in that second round was like, fuck me, I can't get this guy out of there. Yeah. And you could see his facial expression change to like a disheartenment, if that's a word. He was disheartened, and Hooker just kept coming forward and would just land flurries of hooks and had Turner so badly hurt at the end of the second round. And if that second round went 10 seconds longer, Hooker was choking him out. He had him in a rear naked and he was cinching it in, sitting back, but the buzzer went. Third round, Hooker again, you could still see Turner tried to stay in the fight, and he did some takedowns and some stuff to keep him in it. But you could just see in his face, he was like, man, this cunt's a fucking dog.
Beast, yeah.
I can't get him out of there. And amazing performance. If we're worried about Dan Hooker and his job security because of, he's dropped some fights recently and, he's just not in the position that he was a few years ago where he was like vying for contendership.
Yeah.
I don't think we have to be worried because this showed that he's tough as fuck.
Yeah.
He's hearty as fuck. He's fun as fuck as a fighter, always having absolute bangers. And they will want to keep him around. And I don't know if you saw the medical report.
Oh, yeah. And I saw the x-rays as well.
There was x-rays for it as well. Broken wrist that he's just a scratch.
Yeah.
And broken cheekbone as well. And he did all of that with those injuries. It's different
wild.
animal, man. Different animal.
Fighting's a different game, man.
Yeah, it is.
I mean, I come from rugby and, guys strap up fingers and play with broken shit.
Yeah.
And like that's Kiwi just hard-nosed footy.
Yeah.
But to actually stand in a ring one-on-one with a broken cheekbone, a broken wrist, this guy's knowing what's up and he's targeting that stuff and you just keep walking forward. It's just...
Well, yeah, in rugby, you can kind of... I'm not going to say hide, but you can rely on your teammates to kind of pick up the slack when you are a little bit injured. Like
you can change your shoulder and hit them with something else.
You can bounce out to the wing and kind of just give yourself a little break as you recover from whatever's ailing you. Like you said, man, he's literally targeting. He would have seen the little mouse on Hooker's eye and gone, all right, I'm just going to go left at that eye, jab that eye up.
Yeah.
Yeah, man, different animal. So what's next for Hooker? I've got just a dream fight in my head. I don't know what the booking is at the moment for these guys. I believe he might be booked against Matus Gamrot, but the guy that I want to see Hooker fight is Rafael Fiziev.
Yeah.
Because he's a little bit further up in the rankings. He's an absolute kickboxing wizard. He's got power, so it is really risky for Dan Hooker.
Yeah.
But if he can eat those shots and then lay it on Fiziev, who is known to gas. He gassed against Gaethje. He's gassed against other guys.
We're going to get entertained.
We could be in for an absolute dogfight. So just as a fan's perspective, I want to see Hooker versus Fiziev next. But next fight, another one that you got right as well.
Yeah.
A fucking huge underdog. I believe he was a $3.50 underdog and everyone was writing him off.
The only reason I tip this is my UFC knowledge is very minimal.
Well, yeah, picking it up, obviously.
Yeah. But there's been so much noise leading up to this about Izzy and Duplessis. And I said on the show that it's a little bit concerning when someone comes into a fight and they're focusing about what's next and not the task on hand. But like tinfoil hat on, this is what we needed to see. So
did Whittaker take a dive? No.
Well, yeah. Maybe one of the hinges was off the gate. So,
yeah. No, he kicked that gate down for sure and defeated Robert Whittaker by round 2 TKO, Dricus Duplessis, that is. And man, amazing performance. He did things with force, power, and aggression as opposed to Whittaker, who was doing things a little bit more tactically and technically, like entering in and out of range and trying to land his shots and more point fighting, as opposed to Dricus, who was, really trying to go for it. And it took him a little bit of time to find his timing, but once he did, the weapon for Dricus that was effective was the southpaw. It's a southpaw jab, but it's like a jab cross thing because he was kind of landing it over the top of
sort of like
Whittaker.
He
was landing it over the top of Whittaker as Whittaker was entering with his own jab, and it was money all night. And that was actually the shot that eventually led to Whittaker getting hurt badly and then ultimately finished because. I don't know what it is, but Dricus has fucking power. It might be because of all the muscles on his body. Go figure. But
the real African behind him.
Yeah, all the biltong he's been eating. But man, landed hard. And also, before that though, he was very defensively sound. And he did have a very high and exaggerated guard. It was like elbows were like way up. But what didn't get him caught with body and leg kicks was he was also moving out of the range with that guard. And it works well with Whittaker because Whittaker is a fighter who likes to bounce in and out of range with quick, sudden bursts.
Yeah.
And he would just stick the guard up and bounce away as well. So he was doing really good with distance management. Bites heavy on feints, but maybe that was a game plan that he saw. Whatever the case, it worked well.
Yeah.
His weird-looking defense worked pretty good. And the last thing I wanted to say was Whittaker just needed to throw stuff with a little more aggression, a little more heat. He didn't have Dricus's respect, and that's why Dricus had the reins to, land that southpaw jab, land hooks on the guard of Whittaker.
Arrogance in the fight.
Exactly. Even grabbed him, took him down with a head and arm choke, and then we don't ever see this from Whittaker, but was really aggressive with Whittaker on the ground, trying to land ground and pound, going for a das on a couple occasions, and yeah, Whittaker just kind of got bullied, man.
Yeah. As for the, sorry to just move ahead from you, in terms of the fireworks that happened after Izzy, and when we're looking at a fight style,
What did Izzy say?
I can't remember. I can't remember exactly what it was word for word, but
I remember one
know
word.
There was, yeah. I was like, I'm fucking pretty sure. I was like, was there something else that came with that? As for that beef afterwards, fuck, we all know how Izzy performs when there's something like a little bit behind it.
Yeah.
And then we look at that fight style from Dricus du Plessis, and honestly, I think Izzy's just going to absolutely piece his cunt up.
Well, that's what I was saying about the feints. Izzy doesn't go forward and isn't as aggressive as Robert Whittaker.
Yeah.
He waits. He tries to get his reads on you, and he makes shots accordingly. And he's got more range than Whittaker, so he can actually just touch Dricus at a bit of different angles than what Whittaker
whatever
can.
He wants.
Yeah, exactly.
And as the challenger in this one, he's going to be wanting. You're coming in here. You're saying you're the real African. You want this. Come take it from me, and then catch this.
And we saw what he did to Paulo Costa when there was a lot of heat in that matchup. He fucking tore Paulo Costa to bits. I think Dricus is slightly better than Paulo in hindsight. But yeah, I still have to lean to Izzy in that matchup. But him beating Whittaker in the fashion that he has done has made it, has made it a lot more interesting.
Yeah. I mean, look, you guys, Robert Whittaker, just you shall not pass. He's the Gandalf of the UFC in that division, and so it is great to see this movement sort of moving forward. And it will be very interesting when this fight between Dricus and Izzy happens, depending on the result from it, and then sort of how that division starts to move forward from there as well, which I'm really excited about.
Yeah, and now we just need someone to knock off Max Holloway, and then all the gatekeepers are removed. But the next fight, the first title fight of the night, was an absolute banger. Alexandre Pantoja defeats Brandon Moreno by split decision in an absolute classic of a match that stole... Dan Hooker would have made a fair bit of money because Jalen Turner missed weight, so he gets to have Jalen Turner's fight per, like I think 60% of his fight purse.
Yeah.
But he was also probably wanting a bonus as well for fight of the night, which these guys, took from him. So it could have been a potentially mean money-making night for Dan Hooker, but this was well-deserved because the first 3 rounds of this fight were as good as mixed martial arts get, with the highest level of technique, speed, durability, endurance, and will to win on display. And it's crazy to think that a couple of years ago, they nearly canned this division. They nearly had this division out of the UFC, which is crazy because they're just so technically good because of their size. They can move their body in ways that bigger boys can't. And when it's at the highest level like these two were, it's fucking insane to watch. You almost don't even know what's happening in some of the striking situations when they're engaging so often, some of the grappling situations with some of the scrambles of them rolling fucking all over each other. It's just high level mixed martial arts that can keep you in awe. And it was a controversial-ish decision. I have no problems with the decision personally, but we've said this time and time again on the show, and it's just the plain fact of how the judges score it. It's damage-based scoring.
Yeah.
And throughout the fight, it would appear as though Brandon Moreno did land more damage on Pantoja throughout the fight. But if you look at the significant strikes, that would suggest that as well. 147 significant strikes to 129. But Pantoja was still landing at a very high clip.
Yeah.
And he tallied up a lot of control time to win crucial rounds. And especially in that 4th and 5th round where it started to slow down a bit, he was in control for the majority of it. He had 6 takedowns for 8 minutes 26 control time, as opposed to 2 from Moreno with 4 minutes 01 control time. So you kind of have to give it to Pantoja. I had it 48-47 with rounds 2 and 3 going to Moreno, and then rounds 1, 4, and 5 to Pantoja. But this fight was so close that I think they got to run it back. And it's not ideal considering how many rematches that Moreno has had recently with 4 fights with Figueiredo. And now this is going to be a 3rd fight with Pantoja potentially, because this was already their 2nd UFC fight and 3rd fight overall if you're including the Ultimate Fighter. But considering the landscape of the division and considering that the next contender is either Figueiredo, who we just talked about rematches, and he's also fought Pantoja, and he's sort of looking to go up a division. You've got Royval, who is up there as well, but he lost to Pantoja recently. Another rematch. And you've also got Amir Albazi, who beat, huge quotation marks, beat Kai Kara France.
Yeah.
Who doesn't have a whole lot of hype around him because a lot of people believe he didn't really win that fight. So
it's a shame Kai didn't get that result, because
it was
laid out for him. It was perfect. It was the run we needed to see.
He'd be an option right now if we're talking about this. But a rematch is warranted. It was that close and that entertaining that a rematch would do big numbers. And yeah, I say run it back.
Yeah, I like it. It's a shame, like we said about Kai Kara France, but this might be something where we see a rematch and we sort of see maybe who's going to find that pathway to come up there next and start challenging the title. And then we move into Volk.
Volk, man. Unbelievable. Alexander Volkanovski defeats Yair Rodriguez, round 3 TKO. The undisputed greatest featherweight of all time. And I know that it might be a little bit controversial, maybe even a little bit casual to say that, because Jose Aldo still sits atop with 8, I believe, featherweight title defenses. But this guy has beaten Aldo. Aldo has had a lot of crucial losses to high-level contenders like Max Holloway twice and Conor McGregor, and even down at bantamweight, Peter Yan and others like that I kind of have to disqualify him.
Yeah.
Well, not disqualify, but penalize him for those losses. Volkanovski in the featherweight division itself has literally been dominating everyone.
Yeah.
And he dominated this fight again. Great game plan. Once again, bro, the game plans are so on point. And the way he closed distance in this one and was still able to go forward was he was constantly switching stances the whole time. I don't know if you noticed that, but he would constantly go southpaw, orthodox, southpaw, just slowly closing the distance.
Playing those mind games, figuring out what side am I going to come from. I'm on this side, you're comfortable here, I'm going to switch it here.
Exactly right. And it's also just because Rodriguez likes to work off his range and land a lot of kicks and has a very kick-heavy offense.
He didn't let him plant into that foot.
Exactly.
And get
he didn't have the perfect angles to land the shots that he was looking for. It was like his body's open this side, then his body's open that side, then his head's open that side.
It wasn't giving him a trigger. He might be looking to piece him up here and he's open here, and that's where I can then sneak it in, and it's fucking clever.
And then you saw the fruits of his labor during the preparation of the Makhachev fight come in here as he took Rodriguez down and did his homework again. He scooched Rodriguez over to the cage on that first takedown, scooched him over to the cage, had his head against the cage, stacked him up so he could land ground and pound from a good angle that also eliminates the threat of Rodriguez off his back, because Rodriguez is a dangerous man off his back, constantly trying to throw elbows, which he did land one that cut Volkanovski. It looked accidental, in all honesty, but he did land one. And then he's also adept at like throwing up triangles and omoplatas and just making it real tricky on the ground. Volk did his homework, either stacked him up against the cage, or if they were out in the open, he made sure to keep his head buried underneath the chin of Rodriguez so he couldn't get an angle
over the
to
top.
land those elbows. So masterful corner work by Rodriguez. And in round 3, it would appear, I say it would appear, but Yair was starting to take over and starting to land more shots and get into a little bit of a flow state a little bit more. But all it was doing was allowing Volkanovski to make his reads on Yair's tendencies, which a lot of people going into this were like, Yair's random. Yair just does things that are so unorthodox. He doesn't even know what he's going to do. And how is Volk going to be able to get reads on a guy who is so random? But he found a pattern. And the pattern was that Yair comes in with a flurry, he does a combo, and then as Volk bounces out of range, he throws a kick either to the head or to the body. And because Yair is a long guy with long legs, he was landing on... Volk was doing well to get his guard up, but he was landing on the guard and landing on Volkanovski as he was trying to exit out of the exchanges. And he did this literally every time. And what led to the finish was Volkanovski finally planted, so he stayed defensively safe, planted in the middle of that combination that Rodriguez was trying to do. And like clockwork, Rodriguez throws the kick off, and what does Volk do? He's not way back where the kick can land on his head or on his body. He's right there in the pocket, lands a beautiful counter right hand that hurts Rodriguez badly and sets up a beautiful finish where he has Rodriguez against the cage, lands to the head, lands to the body, brings the guard up, and then boom, blast double leg that stacks him up, gets Rodriguez on the ground, and then finishes him with trademark ground and pound that we saw all fight. So, man, this can't just ceases to amaze me with how fucking good
Amazing
he is.
Yeah.
Bro, it's actually crazy. But
what do you see next from him? Are we going to see Volk stay in the division and wait for something else to come up? Or are we going to see him take the rematch?
Oh, man. In my ideal world, I want him to go up and fight Makhachev again because
I think he's close. He's real close to that.
Oh, he is. But what he did say in his aftermatch was that he is going to need a minor surgery on his arm.
Yeah.
So his timetable isn't as tight as it would be without this minor surgery. So I think he's going to look to come back more around December or later this year as opposed to October where the Abu Dhabi card is going to be and where Makhachev definitely wants to fight on and defend his title. So I think Makhachev is not an option. I think Sterling may not be an option either because he's just got his fight in Boston, which is after a quick turnaround from his one against Cejudo. So he might want some time off. He's known to having a fair bit of time off after some of his fights. I think Ilia Topuria.
Yeah.
I think Topuria's right there as an option. They even had a little face-off after the fight. I think he is a good option to, because of the way he beat Emmett, there is hype around how good this kid is. And Volkanovski, he loves the trash talk. He said it himself. He was like, hey, this guy's been talking. I want to give him a chance. He even said in his post-match, he was like, whatever you do, don't fight Max. Don't fight Max because I want to whip your ass. That's what he said. So,
I like that.
Yeah, I think Topuria has earned his way into a title shot. And for Rodriguez, I know he's the loser on this equation, but I still want to match him up with someone because I saw the rankings and I was like, fuck, what happens with Rodriguez here? And I saw a matchup that is absolutely take my money worthy, and that's Yair Rodriguez versus Giga Chikadze. Taekwondo versus karate, absolute striking affair. Pretty much what we missed out on with Rodriguez versus Magomed Sharipov before Sharipov retired.
Yeah.
This is that dream style matchup that we will be able to get. So I reckon someone book that.
Yeah, I like it.
Yeah.
Just put the blokes in the ring and just let them kick the shit out of each other.
Let just a chaos of kicks and techniques
Running
that
and
we
just-
don't even know how to do.
Yeah, I like it. It's going to be interesting moving forward for that. Okay, we're into Jersday. Now, for me this week, Bradman Best. We got a fantastic showcase from the bloke last night. He scored 2 tries. He broke 3 tackles and had 2 line break assists. He also ran for a total of 129 run meters in his Origin debut.
Fucking hell.
And he did not look out of place. You're wearing a Blues jersey right now. You're looking great in it. That bloke looked the absolute best in it. And it was just...
Hey, I like what you did there.
Thank you.
Bad Best.
Yeah, he really is. And I think he really made a fucking name for himself. Moving forward, we've got Stephen Crichton, we've got Campbell Graham moving forward. But in terms of just like a strong, powerful, like kind of like that Val Holmes sort of spec for Queensland. And
But maybe even bigger.
exactly. He impressed me defensively. He was really great defensively, but what he offered on attack was just great. He was good with the ball in the air, which was something that New South Wales sort of lacked on the defensive end then again, but just the power that he has. He was just an absolute dog. He was running rampant through everything. He looked in the absolute thick of it. The only thing I was disappointed with was just, he said he used to just want to fight Queensland cunts at school. And it was like, come on, let it go in the game. But I mean, nothing really broke out for it. It would have been fantastic.
Oh, you wanted to see him fight Queensland cunts out of school.
Yeah.
Like on the field.
I want to see Big Red and Bradman Best
what a scrap.
get into it. But for me, he was just absolutely impressive. Origin debut at a course day. It was sort of, he was the big, like, what the hell, Freddie, and a little bit coming into this. And he really just put his claim on that jersey, which was great to see. 2 tries in your Origin debut.
Yeah, fantastic.
It's just outstanding.
And he was a perfect guy to have outside Cody Walker, who holds the ball and kind of puts pressure on those edges, because he just, if you drew the outline of a threat, just a rugby league threat, it's Brandman Best. Big guy, fast guy, agile, runs hard lines. You got to pay attention to him. And Cody knew that, and Cody was exploiting the threat that he brought to the game very well. So Bradman Best, perfect in the New South jersey. And yeah, we're happy to have him.
Yeah, absolutely.
This will not be, well, he's young, so this is kind of a no shit statement, but this will not be his last performance in a New South Wales jersey. I know we've got a lot of depth with Katoni Staggs and all those guys, but
that's who I
think he offered a unique skill set that we can weaponize in the future.
I agree. I mean, you mentioned Katoni Staggs, who I didn't think played very bad in his Origin game. He just never really got a chance. And in my eyes, he's sort of in better form this season. And it was a shame we never got to see him go into that. You've got Sefa Talakai as well, who's playing fantastic.
My new favorite player. No.
But both guys just weren't quite clinical in that Blues jumper.
Yeah.
And we saw Bradman Best absolutely clinical. Big players step up in big games. I know it wasn't the moment, but they didn't get swept, and he was amongst the thick of it.
Yeah, he was a good player and a good win. So, my Jersday, I'm going back to the UFC. I know I've talked your ears off about the UFC for damn near half an hour now, but I'll just make it quick. Robbie Lawler, he fought in the weekend. He retired. Absolute legend of the sport. He 41 years old, and he ended up KOing Nico Price in 38 seconds for a fairy tale ending to an absolute fairy tale career. And man, he has had a legendary career. He has always had power, but was never perceived to have the talent or technique to be a champ, but got there with just sheer heart and will. He made his debut at UFC 37 in 2002 at 19 years old, and had a little bit of a patchy run in his first stint before being released by the promotion in 2005, where he would bounce around promotions like Pride, Elite XC, Strike Force, before moving to one of the most credentialed gyms in all of mixed martial arts, to be honest. Have you heard of American Top Team?
I have, actually.
Yeah, so they're down in Florida. So he moved there, and then upon his return to the UFC in 2013, he looked like a completely different fighter. He had technique and more of a patience. His edges were refined. He used to be just a wild banger with a lot of power, a young kid that couldn't control his aggression, to like a guy that could use his aggression in a controlled way and march guys forward and land perfect shots on guys. And you saw that with him coming back and having banger after banger with the likes of Koscheck, McDonald, Brown, Hendricks, Condit, and then eventually winning the UFC title. He got there. That is a huge achievement to him, and it's well-deserved for a hard-working dude that put in the effort to refine his skills and get to the very top. And man, if you guys want to go and watch some absolute fights, if you're not a fight fan, I'd implore you to go watch his second fight with Rory McDonald.
Yeah.
Also, his fight with Carlos Condit, and then even some of his fights with Johnny Hendricks and Matt Brown. Absolute wars in which he just showed heart that no one else could show at the time, and that's push in the 5th round and try to get the guy out of there in the 5th round in close fights. He literally won those fights, especially the Condit and the Rory McDonald fight. He won those by being able to push in the 5th round, get a finish on McDonald, or get the round win over Condit. Didn't quite get the finish, but he got the decision because of his ability to grit down and be a hearty motherfucker. So Robbie Lawler, legend of the sport, enjoy retirement.
You've said that so many times as well. When the fight's not when you're going into that last round and you're like, sort of, who's leading this? Put it in your hands.
Yeah.
Just, you got to go out there and leave it all on the line. And yeah, I'll actually go and have a look at that kind of stuff.
Yeah,
so
bro. I advise anyone who is not quite a fight fan, especially Rory McDonald versus Robbie Lawler 2. Go watch that fight. Absolute banger.
Book it in. You've got Matariki, long weekend.
Yeah.
You got nothing to do tomorrow, so
Plenty
enjoy
of time.
that one.
And we got a dusty card this weekend. So instead of watching that,
Put it on the big screen.
Yeah, instead of watching Holly Holm versus whoever, go watch Rory McDonald and Robbie Lawler smack it out.
Banked.
Yeah.
Okay, that's another one in the books for us. Enjoy all the NRL over the weekend. Enjoy the mighty All Blacks, and last try wins.
Yeah, last try
Up the
wins.
Blues.
Peace out.